Hello, everyone. Today we have with us Sarah Ciociola, Director of Paid Media at PSG Digital. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
From an orientation leader to Director Paid Media at PCG Digital, you have had an amazing journey. It would be great if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got into digital for our viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, like you introduced, my name's Sarah Ciociola. I'm the paid media director at PCG Digital. PCG is a full service digital marketing agency, primarily serving the third tier automotive space. And how I got introduced into digital just at large and PCG. I actually started at PCG Digital as a social media specialist. It's going to be about 6 years ago in September, which is absolutely crazy to say. And I was on the social media team for about 3 years and then kind of just worked my way up, identified that we kind of needed, a paid media director role. I became the paid media director. So now I oversee our search engine marketing team and I oversee our social media team. What that allows me to do from a day to day and from a strategy standpoint is really connect the dots and provide our dealers interconnected marketing experiences that they elsewise wouldn't have when they are outsourcing their SEM or they're outsourcing their social media in silo. So, what I love most about PCG is the collaborative effort between all of the teams. So, when a dealer signs on with us, they don't just have a ticketing system, they get an account manager, they have a team of five, and we're constantly collaborating with each other, communicating with each other, and deploying strategies that all make sense together. We're not just doing one thing and then the other and then the next. And that really drives us great results. So I have been in digital for 6 years and primarily all within the automotive space. So auto and social media advertising, since that's where I got my start, is very near and dear to me.
Any particular reason, or I mean, how did you get into like automotive industry in particular?
Yeah, so it kind of just fell into my lap. What I really wanted to do, so I went to college for marketing because I knew I didn't want to do anything that involved any kind of math. I knew that I was a people person and I knew that was I was creative. So then when I graduated college, I was basically just looking to get my foot in the door somewhere, and I knew that an agency would be the best experience for me because it would allow me to learn all of the facets of digital marketing and not just social media marketing, and that's definitely what PCG did for me. So my favorite part about it and why I love it so much, especially within the auto space, is there's so much education involved. In the auto space, even though it is a big industry, it's a very actually tight knit, close industry. So you get to know people from other companies. We get to create different efforts that are industry efforts. And, we spearhead at PCG a lot of those industry efforts to move automotive along because, as I'm sure a lot of you know, I'm sure as you know, automotive is notorious for being 5 or 10 years behind e-commerce and other kinds of industries like that. So I like being able to kind of push things forward and bring e-commerce strategies and e-commerce tactics into an automotive space and allow it to kind of disperse across the industry.
Right. And do you also get some discounts for your clients?
I wish. No, but I do get to see some pretty cool stuff sometimes. So it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
cool.
I saw your podcast. I think it was a Drive podcast where you actually did like a podcast in a Ferrari or Lamborghini, I guess. That was
Oh
pretty cool.
yeah, yep. Yeah, and that was pretty cool. We go to Las Vegas every year. The past few years it's been in Las Vegas for I think that was at the NADA, so National Auto Dealer Association event. And yeah, he'll like take you all through the strip and just ask you questions. And that was really cool because I actually got to see the strip because I'm going to Vegas all of the time for work, but you're always working. So to
Yeah.
be able to go out during the day, see the strip, drive around in a cool car, that was a really cool
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. You also speak, at a lot of conferences and meetups. How do you prepare like for a talk? Like, is there any, process you have? I mean, how do you go about it?
Yeah, so I always try to one identify my audience, so figure out who's going to be in the room and what's most important to them. And then I always like to introduce a topic that's pretty much brand new. So anything that we're testing at the agency, anything that's new in terms of platforms that we're advertising on or different strategies that we're trying to deploy. I try if we're really tried and true with something at the agency, if we've been doing something forever, I try not to present on that I try to present topics and information that people will find brand new, exciting, interesting, and something that I feel like probably most people in the audience aren't already doing. That's really how I've identified to capture my audience most, by kind of giving them brand new information. When you're teaching them things a million people are already teaching them, you lose them really quick. And then the other thing is just reminding myself that, when you're presenting to people, whether it's on a main stage or it's in a workshop setting, you're a person talking to another person. So really making sure that you're speaking in a way that's engaging, informative, but it's not making your audience feel like, oh, this is going way over my head, or I'm not educated enough to understand this. I think the best speakers and the best marketers, whether you're talking to a client or you're talking to a room full of people at a speaking engagement, you're able to present things and present data that's in a digestible way for everybody to understand.
Right, right. What are some emerging trends or platforms you're keeping a close eye on, like particularly within the automotive sector from a marketing standpoint?
Yeah, so I think within the automotive industry, trends that I am definitely keeping my eye on is conversational commerce. Automotive, as everybody knows, is notorious for your shopping on a website. The digital retailing process is far from being, the best consumer journey. And then when you want any kind of information, you have to fill out a form, and then you get 3 emails from the dealer, you get 10 phone calls, you get texts, you just get blown up. You give them your information, and they don't stop contacting you, and it's just not a fine-tuned sales process 9 out of 10 times. What I have identified as being, somebody younger in the industry and also just a consumer at large, is that people don't want to fill out forms, and a lot of people don't even want to pick up the phone and call anymore. So how are brands, whether it's automotive or anybody else, conversing and interacting with these people who are interested in buying a car or shopping with you at all in their consumer journey? And that's where conversational commerce comes in. So, kind of almost eliminating those lead forms, or at least eliminating the dependence of those lead forms, and maybe pivoting your strategy to messenger campaigns on Meta, or just, importing different events from Google Analytics into Google Ads that will give you more of an engagement story, rather than, okay, you had 10 people fill out a form and then nothing else. What did they do before they got to the form? Is the form the issue? Different things like that I am really pushing at the agency, because I think it's important to communicate with your consumer the way they want to be communicated with. And they certainly, especially younger millennials and Generation Z, do not want to fill out forms. Like, at this point, they know better than to give anybody their information like that, because they
Right.
don't want to get blown up on their email and their texts and their calls. And they want quick information. They want it fast. So can they just message you something quick? Can they text you something quick? And are you just going to respond to them, or are you going to all of a sudden now push and push and push for them to buy you a car? That's really what I'm pushing from a digital side.
Right. And also, there's so many, platforms, like right now, like how do you plan your strategy in the initial phase? Like, which platforms to go after, and, like what kind of content to, go after? Like how does the
Yeah,
strategy
so
look like?
So at least for PCG and from our agency perspective, when a client signs on for full digital, they will start with search engine optimization, search engine marketing within the Google sphere, and meta marketing. So anything under the Facebook or the Instagram umbrella. From there, we try to identify their media mix, because their media mix is filled with third-party vendors. It's filled with their digital, some traditional, OTT. We have add-ons like Microsoft advertising and TikTok advertising that we can add to a dealer's media mix. But we really tend to take the first 30, 60, and 90 days to identify trends in the accounts, learn about their market, learn what's important to them, learn about their inventory fluctuations, and then create tactics within the original strategy we introduced to them to say, hey, this is how we're going to make this unique to you based on your own data. A lot of people get obsessed with what are the benchmarks on Google, what are the benchmarks on Meta, on TikTok, on Microsoft, on other platforms. And it's like, you really need to utilize your own numbers and your own data as your own benchmarks, specifically within automotive, because the dealer down the street may have different inventory. They may be, they may have a completely different media mix that's impacting your media mix. And making sure you are creating a media mix where you're not completely married to just one service. You're not, okay, well, my sales are completely dependent on my Google advertising, or my traffic is completely dependent on my meta advertising. How are you making the puzzle work together and not just having a bunch of puzzle pieces here and there and not understanding how it works, in tandem?
Right. When it comes to content, like, is there any particular type of content that right now is working best, like, from an automotive industry standpoint?
Yeah, I think educational content, and I think this doesn't just go for our automotive, but it probably goes for a lot of other industries too. The way that we're consuming media right now as younger generations, even older generations, just the way that social media is right now, we consume media very fast and we consume only the things that we want to consume. You're never going to see something in your For You page that you're not already looking at or that you don't want to see. So, for instance, if I'm buying a car, I really don't care all that much in the beginning of my consumer journey about incentives and about monthly deals and about MSRP. I'm doing a lot of research. I want to learn about the dealership. I want to learn about different models. I want to learn what works for me. I want to learn how this model and this make and this dealership is going to solve my specific problems for why I want to buy a car. So, when we're speaking about content and creating content, what was 5 years ago, where you can just kind of create one piece of content and slice and dice it and disperse it, we now have to create 5, 10, 20 times more content because your content needs to speak to very individual, smaller groups of people in order for it to be effective.
Right. For dealerships with limited budgets, what are your top recommendations for maximizing the impact of their paid campaigns?
Yeah, sure. So when a dealer comes on with us and they're like, listen, we only have $1,000, $2,000 to spend, we always like to recommend dynamic advertising first and foremost. So whether that's vehicle listing ads on Google, whether that's automotive inventory advertising on Microsoft or on Meta, we tend to go there first. Obviously, we like to see a full funnel media mix where we're running branding and traffic and messenger campaigns and awareness and engagement. But when a dealer comes on with a really limited budget and they just want to get going and they want to just get started and build some data within an account, we'll typically recommend dynamic advertising across the board.
Right. Well, what's your take on TikTok?
I am all about TikTok. So I have been promoting TikTok for a few years now. And I know there's a lot of craziness going on in the stratosphere about TikTok, but specifically what TikTok represents. So maybe in a year from now, it's not going to be TikTok, but TikTok represents the fact that short form video content is what's going to make or break a brand's digital presence moving forward in this digital age. That's one. And two, it gives us a really great insight as to how, like I keep mentioning, younger millennials, Generation Z, Generation Alpha, how are they interacting with brands? What's important to them? What's going to make them engage? What's going to make them respond to an ad? They are their lives are consumed with their phones and it's consumed with social media. So how are you kind of breaking the mold of what even 5 or 10 years ago you were considering a really effective advertising strategy to what you're doing now? We really have to consider generational advertising moving forward. How are you speaking to this generation with this specific problem, this generation with this specific problem, and this generation who in the automotive may not even have their license yet, but are you going to start branding to them now so they're top of mind when they do turn 17 or they're buying their very first car at 22 or whatever it is? It's so much more intricate. There's so much more involved. And the content piece, which is TikTok, that short form video content is going to be absolutely crucial moving forward.
Right. And also, I think the TikTok algorithm also, like, has improved so much, apart from just the videos about the people you follow, even like, like your interest videos, the kind of videos that come, I mean, they're so accurate. So I think even like the algorithm in itself has, like, evolved a lot.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that almost makes it more competitive, right? Because you're not going to be able to throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks. If somebody's not already looking at car dealerships or models or whatever it is or specific trends, then you're not showing up. It doesn't matter. You could put in all the targeting in the world in the back end. If it's not relevant to the user, it's not going to work.
Right, right. And like with TikTok, I think, like it's very like critical because it's the short attention spans, short form videos. Like,
Mhm.
what are the ingredients of making, like that perfect hook or that perfect, like, TikTok video?
Yeah, so short and effective, exactly like what you just said. So making sure you're identifying trends, listening to sounds, listening to all of those things. Like you have to be on TikTok in order to make your TikTok strategy effective. So that's one thing I always tell our dealers, and they're like, oh, well, I don't even have a TikTok. I'm like, get started, go on it, and talk to me again in 2 weeks because I want to see what you're seeing. I want to see what trends are popping up for you. I want to see what you're liking to watch. I want to see what you like and don't like about TikTok because then we can create specific strategies to specific people just like you. And then we can also create specific strategies to people just like me and what I see on my TikTok and my FYP and stuff like that. But the hook definitely has to be in the beginning. It has to be something fun and entertaining. No sales, no gimmicks, nothing like that. So we always encourage our dealers 80% of the content needs to be fun, light, and engaging. 20%, honestly, even less, needs to be about sales and specific incentives. On TikTok, it should be 100% fun, light, and engaging. And if you want to, in a very creative and intricate way, throw in something about a sales incentive or throw in something about an MSRP, you can do that, but that can't be the primary focus of the video.
Right. How can dealerships use social listening tools to gain valuable insights about, customer conversations online?
Yeah, so I think something that I'm pushing right now on the social media end of our strategies is, like I mentioned, messenger campaigns. I think that's really effective for dealers because it's something that somebody can just message on their phone, get the answer, and as long as they have a sales team or a chat provider integrated with that messenger app, then it's a very effective way to build relationships with people online and give them the information they need without being salesy, without being gimmicky. So that would be my number one thing I would think. And really just being able to identify like what are people asking, what are they looking for when you're not shoving things down their throats as like buy a car, do this, here's a sale, here's a this, I've been contacting you, I've been doing this. What are they asking you when they feel comfortable to ask the question? That's then where you should be like, okay, we need to build content around this. We got 10 people last week asking about X. Let's build a great content strategy around it. Let's push it on a paid scope. Let's push it organically. Those are going to be the best kinds of strategies for automotive. And that's what the best marketing managers, or if you're an agency, that's what's going to succeed.
Right. Sarah, tell us your favorite client story.
My favorite client story. My gosh. Well, actually, recently I was pretty proud of a pivot that we made. In one of our clients who actually ended up being the number one Nissan dealer in New Jersey, largely due to all of our digital efforts at PCG. So we had a client, they were running dynamic advertising and they were generating no leads. Every month we would have 1, 2, or 3 leads. And when I say a lead, I mean a form fill on their website. And they were like, we may cancel social, we may go elsewhere. We're not generating the results that we're looking for. And I was perplexed. I was trying to figure it out. I was really looking into it and really auditing it and really diving in deep. And I was like, you know what? Let me try to prove my own point that I've been trying to push for a while. And let's pause these dynamic ads and let's go to a messenger campaign. The same ad copy, the same dynamic feed, the same tagging, like the whole thing's the same, but we're going to optimize for messages and we're not going to optimize for lead forms. They received 50 plus messages in the first 2 weeks of running the campaign, where when we were optimizing for lead forms, we were only generating 3 or 4, form fills in the entire month. So I said to the dealer, I said, this is what people want. They want to be able to just chat with you. They don't want to give you their information and get bogged down by your sales team. And now we have really great, effective conversational commerce strategies for that dealer. And that dealer last month, like I mentioned, was the number one Nissan dealer in New Jersey. So that was a super proud moment for our entire team because our entire team identified the issue and pivoted. And it really, again, just emphasizes the conversational commerce point as well.
Right. Like with like all the AI, coming into play, like any best use of AI, like for you as a agency.
Yeah, I mean, I think creative ad copy is definitely going to be the best in terms of creative AI. I don't think AI is replacing marketers. I don't think AI knows what levers to pull in the back end of Google and Meta and TikTok and Microsoft and all of that good stuff. But what I personally love to use AI for is if I'm scheduling posts organically or if I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I can't think of anything creative to write for this ad copy because we're running a lot of the same kinds of campaigns for a lot of the same kinds of makes and models for a lot of our clients. It's like, how many different ways can you say A, B, or C? So I like using AI for that because they actually come up with some really creative things. I'm like, that is catchy. I wouldn't have thought of that. So that's how I like to use it. And then I think for content purposes too, you can ask AI, like, create me a content calendar for the entire month of May based on A, B, and C. So there's really no excuse anymore. Like, it's very easy to produce and then just execute.
Right. Any favorite tool for the AI copy, like for the ad copies?
I probably just use Chat GBT, honestly. Like, I love it. And then in Sprout Social too. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sprout Social, but it's like an organic scheduling tool. They will give you, you type it up, you put your media on it, your video, your picture, whatever. And if you click the AI button, they will give you three different AI options of what you wrote. So like, here's try to how to make it a little bit more creative. They do emojis, they do this, they do that. You just slice and dice whatever AI you want if you want to choose that one. And I've been using that for a lot of the scheduled posts that we do, specifically for some event marketing that we do. We throw a lot of big events at the agency. And that has been the most engaging organic content from just taking that. I wrote whatever I wanted to write. I had AI make it a little bit more creative. I sliced and diced that AI, and it's been really, really engaging.
Right, right. What keeps you motivated and passionate about, the world of automotive digital marketing?
I think what keeps me passionate and motivated is just the fact that it's an industry effort a lot of the time. So when we find something that works, we present it to the entire automotive industry. Like, we don't have a lot of secrets or a secret sauce. Like, our secret sauce is our people and our people interacting with dealers in a way that's effective and digestible, like I mentioned earlier. So what really keeps me passionate about it is just creating to continue to advance the industry, whether that's in the measurement of digital advertising, the creative piece of it, any issues that the industry is seeing, low inventory, different things like that. And I think too, from a larger marketing perspective, just being able to identify different trends with different generations of people, I'm really passionate about that. And I really think that's the way that digital marketing is going to start to go, where you can't just create one strategy. You can have one media mix, but within that media mix, there should be dozens and dozens of different strategies for different goals, and talking to different people in specific ways. That really has never been done in the automotive space and the way that it's done so effortlessly in the e-commerce space. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that done, in the next months and years to come.
Right. Well, Sarah, thank you for your time. But before, like I let you go, I like playing like quick rapid fire round of 3 to 5 questions.
Okay, sure.
Perfect. Texting or talking?
Texting.
Early mornings or late nights?
Early mornings now that I'm pushing 30.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Peanut butter.
Last Google search, if you remember.
My last Google search, bridal shower pens. I'm throwing my best friend a bridal shower, so I needed pens with diamonds on top.
If a movie was made on you, what genre would it be?
Comedy.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for your time. It was fun having you, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me too. It was so fun being here, and hopefully I'm here again soon.